Here is some footage that a drone filmed by chance and that nobody was supposed to see. Have you ever seen a tornado up close? If you've never had the opportunity to see one, check out this stunning footage taken by a drone. The drone captured an incredible tornado from the air as it passed through Sulphur, Oklahoma, USA. The images are simply breathtaking. They were captured by a storm chaser named Brandon Clement, who filmed the tornado as it moved across the landscape. In its vortex, the massive squall sucked water out of a pond that was in its path, making for a breathtaking sight. It lasted for many minutes before the tornado calmed down and died down for good. Brandon Clement was very lucky, as it was the lack of rain and hail that allowed his drone to have a clear, unobstructed view of the tornado and therefore be able to film easily. Did you know that there was a bike graveyard? A Chinese photographer filmed with his drone an incredible place that no one was supposed to see, a hidden bike-sharing cemetery in China. There, hundreds of thousands of almost new bikes litter the ground. Photographer Wu Gaiyang stumbled upon this hidden spot in Shenzhen, and his video have been viewed more than 300 million times in 15 days. The smaller stacks have about 40,000 or 50,000 bikes, while the larger ones have more than 200,000 bikes. More than 70 companies are fighting for dominance because everyone wants to make the most money. And this competition has led to an oversaturated market. In the documentary The Gig Is Up, which is part of Hot Docs on CBC, the Chinese photographer clearly explains how the graveyards came about. He explained that the Chinese government didn't want companies to know about this, which is why all bike-sharing graveyards are hidden. A Chinese bike-sharing platform like OFO said it's a kind of war because every month they have to conquer many cities, and they have to do it fast before other providers or other brands precede them. This is a sorry and very explicit picture of the concept of capitalism. Of course, capitalism is an important force to make society evolve, but this cannot be done without controls, laws, and rules to respect. It's a pity that these still new and usable bikes have been thrown away like this. A photographer named Danny Cook once grabbed his drone and a Geiger dosimeter and flew to Chernobyl and Pripyat to capture breathtaking images for the CBS News program 60 Minutes. This visit changed his life. The images taken by the drone show a Ukrainian town where time seems to have stood still when it was evacuated following the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear explosion. At the same time of the disaster during the Soviet era, about 49,000 people lived in the town of Pripyat, located less than 3 kilometers from Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The residents left behind schools, homes, factories, parks, and gymnasiums that have remained largely untouched for the past 3 decades. Danny Cook was able to film the remains of Pripyat and Chernobyl and reconstruct panoramic shots of abandoned buildings and parks in a few minutes video. The photographer also took pictures of the interior of the buildings by walking into them, capturing stunning scenes of unoccupied schools and houses. The images are truly exceptional and rare because the area is very radioactive and therefore very dangerous. No one would have been able to film them if it had not been done by a drone. Do you believe in woodland monsters? Here's a video shot by a drone that will change your mind. 2 hikers claim to have filmed the Bigfoot beast with their drone during an expedition in the snowy Salt Fork State Park in Ohio, USA. A video that has generated a lot of comments but also criticism after they shared it on YouTube. The 2 men say that after hearing strange noises in the woods, they grabbed their drone in order to film and locate the origin of the sound. They managed to film a huge, furry creature as it walked between trees and brush in a snow shower. By posting their video on YouTube, the 2 hikers were confident that they had found evidence that Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch or Ohio grassman, really existed. On the video, they explained that they had discovered hair and bones, likely those of a deer, buried in piles of leaves in the woods, likely a work of Bigfoot. Many skeptical internet users claim that these images were fake, but the hikers are adamant that they were real. The images look clear though. You can see a figure standing right there. A creature that looks a bit like a very upright monkey moving through the forest. Once they zoomed in on it, they were able to see that it had graying hair. These 2 men are not the only ones who believe this. Bigfoot's story has long been celebrated in the area, and people come from all over the world to Salt Fork State Park to try their luck at seeing him with their own eyes. Since the mid-1980s, there have been at least 3 dozen sightings in this park. The first, dating back to 1811, British explorer David Thompson is said to have discovered huge footprints that suggested that a species considered extinct might be roaming the wild. And you, what do you think? In July 2021, a plane was filmed dropping a ton of small fish into a lake in Utah. The images are impressive, a common practice in the region since the 1950s aimed at supporting recreational fishing and species conservation. These planes can carry up to 35,000 fish on a single stocking trip and can also replenish up to 60 different lakes in a single day. The aircraft have 7 separate tanks, enough to store several different species for one trip. In the pictures, you can see thousands of fish pouring into the lakes, young fry of a few centimeters at most. After being dumped, they floated in a ribbon before disappearing. Young fish, unlike adults, can survive the fall and the impact with the water. So you are probably wondering why this is done by plane. Well, it's simply due to the fact that the lakes are inaccessible by land transit, especially when so many fish are transported in hundreds of liters of water. This is, after all, only one of the many ways to replenish the lakes. Another suggests that salmon cannons be used to launch the fish over the dams without harming them. What would you do if one day, while swimming in the sea, 4 huge sharks approached you? In the Bahamas, a little boy had this experience. But fortunately, without realizing it, it happened in December 2017 when a drone filmed a terrifying scene during which a little boy threw himself into the sea and that 4 large sharks, being attracted by the smell of fresh fish, headed and approached dangerously to him. Fortunately for him, he got out of the water in extremis, while only 2 small meters separated him from the first shark. The images are frightening. On July 8, 2013, in Weld County in northern Colorado, a huge fire broke out in a farmer's land, destroying a large portion of his hay crop. While waiting for help and firefighters to arrive, the farmer had the ingenious idea of sparing the rest of his fields, cutting off the fire's path thanks to his tractor to prevent it from spreading. An idea that came at the right time, since the fire had already ravaged 12 of the 32 hectares from the farm. These images were filmed with a drone. The images you are about to see come straight from Portugal. This is the Covão dos Conchos, a dam in the shape of a huge waterhole, located at the top of the highest mountain in the country, the Serra da Estrela. It was built in 1955 with a height of 4,006 meters and 48 meters of circumference to collect the waters of the river Ribeira das Naves towards another lagoon, the Lagoa Comprida, and this thanks to a long tunnel of 1,519 meters. Until recently, this almost inaccessible place was the best kept secret of Serra da Estrela. But it was without counting on our friends the drones, which went to find these exceptional images from the sky. And it is precisely thanks to a 4K drone belonging to a certain Helder Afonso that you can now admire the aerial images of the spectacular place as if you were there. This hole in the middle of the water is bewitching and very impressive. It gives the impression that there is a gaping hole in the middle of the lagoon that the water rushes towards in the heart of the earth, not to mention this landscape taught around. It is absolutely admirable. We've all seen rainbows, but not whole round rainbows. Here is an unusual video filmed by a drone where you can see this exceptional phenomenon. In 2016, a drone captured a splendid image in the north of Ireland, a perfectly circular rainbow in the sky, accompanied by a second arc. In fact, a rainbow is not really a bow, it is rather a complete circle. If we only see half of it, it's because the Earth gets in the way at the horizon. The man who immortalized this arc in the sky of Cookstown in the north of Ireland had the idea to attach his smartphone to his drone and send it to observe more closely this incredible phenomenon. A genius idea that has borne fruit, since we can see the full circle multicolored suspended in the air, accompanied by a second inverted. The weather that day was gloomy. The gray sky and rain made it all the more fascinating as the clouds parted to give way to the sun and the rainbow. The higher the drone went in the sky, the more it could film the arc in a complete circle, a phenomenon impossible to see from the ground. What do you think is the predator of the other? The orca or the shark? Naturally, you would answer the shark, but no, you'd be wrong. Orcas are also formidable predators. Depending on the region where they live, some of them are aces in the hunting of specific animals, since they have deployed very elaborate techniques over time. Among them, the most famous, beaching themselves to catch sea lions and great white sharks. In 2017, 2 orcas were spotted savagely attacking white sharks in the Gansby area of South Africa. The objective of these animals being to devour their livers, which are highly nutritious for them. Since these attacks, which killed at least 8 great white sharks, the latter had totally deserted the area, which used to live mainly from tourism linked to their presence. In May 2022, marine biologists succeeded in immortalizing a very rare scene: a live orca attack on a shark. They were able to do so thanks to a drone that they flew off Mossel Bay. These exceptional images were then broadcasted by the Discovery Channel on the occasion of the Shark Week. A 54-year-old man once went into the wilderness near the loch to shoot video with his 4K drone. After posting what he thought was an ordinary video, he was challenged by lynx-eyed internet users who claimed to have spotted a strange figure swimming on the shores of the loch. Richard Maver was shocked to see this mysterious creature in the water that he had not seen while filming. He said he didn't notice the unusual shape appearing in the water until viewers pointed it out to him in the comments. He couldn't believe his eyes. He had to rewind the footage dozens of times to realize it. The more he replayed the scene, the more he cried out in amazement, because according to him, it could only be the Loch Ness monster. Others thought it could be due to a light effect, but nothing was sure. And do you think it is really the Loch Ness monster? Now tell us in the comments what you think of this drone footage, and don't forget to subscribe and click here to watch another of our videos.